Hey there, my name is Shane Craddock, and this is the Inner Edge podcast, where I share a different take on how to lead and live a sustainable, high-performance life. Over the course of different episodes, I'm going to challenge the belief that tension, stress, and struggle are essential to success and creativity. My experience is that there's an easier way, there's a better way, and indeed there's an essential way that we need to explore for the times that we live in. So let's go ahead, let's jump in and explore. Hello there. Welcome to The Inner Edge with me, Shane Craddock. I hope wherever you are, you're in good health, in good form, and your spirits are high for what's to come in your journey ahead. Today, we're talking about a subject that, if I'm being honest, I could probably spend a couple of weeks talking about this alone, because it's about your unconscious mind. And the phrase I'm using for today's episode is that your unconscious mind is always working. So I suppose the question is, do you have it working on the right things? Now, I've just literally a few minutes ago finished a workout. I was catching up on I'm trying to do 4 gym sessions at the moment in my week, in my particular program. I missed a session, so I'm just did a session there to catch up. And even as I was doing that, I was just thinking about how important your unconscious mind is, even when you're training, because very often it's at the back of your mind is what's going to influence the result. And so very often, if you have some sort of deep-seated image or picture or belief at the back of your mind, in your unconscious mind, it may stop you doing something like physical fitness or even staying with the diet, or because it's the home of your self-image. And I think the key point I want to focus on today, because as you know, these particular episodes are quite short, I just want you to kind of consider using your unconscious mind more consciously to work on important things in your life, in any context. Now, actually, before I get into that, I just want to give a little flag that for the first time, we've decided to do a community hike for people listening to this podcast or my mailing list or clients or whatever. So we're doing a hike in Ireland. It's in Glendalough, about half an hour from where I live. One of the most beautiful places on the planet. We're going to do about a 3-hour hike. Friday the 2nd of February, meeting up at 10 o'clock, or we're leaving at 10 o'clock. So, but if you want to bring somebody, you're more than welcome to. If you want to come along, the form, because we need you to fill out a form, just to let us know that you're coming, etc. We get some details. That's going to be somewhere in the show notes here. So we might see you there. So the inspiration, I think, for today's episode came from a group exercise I was doing during the week, where I was getting the group participants to focus on the priorities for the month ahead. And I just said, look, some of you will have them already identified, which is great. I want you to just check in on them. But I know some of you won't. But I just want you to trust that if you just give it 2 minutes and just write down what you think they might be, they will come out. Now, one of the people in the group afterwards said that he was kind of shocked at how quickly they came out. And when I dug a little bit deeper, he was saying that he had been looking at the questions in my True Success Planner, which is a free planner I've given out this year to people on my mailing list. And there's about, 15 questions in that. And he'd been thinking about them, doodling on them. And he said he just realized that they were working away at the back of his mind. And when he was asked a direct question about the priorities, he said they just flowed out of him with no effort. That's a classic example that your unconscious is always working. Now, if you read my book, The Inner CEO, you'll know that I use the metaphor of these tiny beings inside our minds with different departments. And I call them the innies. And I just kind of jokingly think about them like that look, here's a question or here's a problem, innies. I want you to take it away into the creative department or the solutions department, work on it while I'm doing other stuff. And this always works phenomenally well. And then eventually, but I can't predict always when, they will present me with an idea or solution or a course of action. Now, I use 5 fundamentals when I'm talking to clients, and I go through these in the book as well, The Inner CEO. One of them is the iceberg fundamental. And essentially what that means, if you think about an iceberg, is the major part of the iceberg, the main mass of it, is underneath the waterline. So you can't really see it. And that's very true of your mind. So the tip of the iceberg, the bit that you can see, that you're aware of, is a very small percentage. But the underneath the waterline is really the unconscious bit, the bit that you're not fully aware of. It's home to your formative learnings and memories, your self-image, your beliefs, your core values, and so on. And this part of your mind is really what gives you your sense of self, your sense of identity. But as I say, it's usually where people work from automatic pilot. Now, a classic example, if you think about it in terms of the unconscious, is a phobia. So if somebody who has a phobia of, it could be anything, but the most common things might be spiders or mice or even height. If you talk to the person when they're calm, they will logically agree that, yes, it makes sense. I shouldn't be afraid of the mouse or the spider or maybe even the heights. But when you put a spider or a mouse in front of that person, the logic goes out the window. Why? Because the unconscious part of their mind takes over and goes, I'm out of here. And they usually will, even if it's a spider, run screaming out of the room. Now, advertisers in particular know the power of the unconscious mind. That's why then they work on the principle of repetition, where you just see ads pretty much everywhere. You see them on TV, on your phone, in bus shelters and train stations when you're flying. They're just literally everywhere. Why? Because they're continuously trying to get that very important part of your inner real estate in your unconscious mind, so that if you get thirsty, you think of a certain drink first. That's because they have programmed into your unconscious mind. Or you think about buying a present for your loved one. Well, maybe it was because you were influencing your unconscious mind, often without realizing it. Now, app designers know this. Software designers know this. That's why they hire top psychologists. Now, on the negative, most people, because they aren't fully aware of the power of the unconscious mind, they let the wrong things in without realizing the extent to which they're damaging themselves. For example, over-consuming news. The news is biased definitely towards the negative. It's not necessarily going to get the headlines if it's like, well, here's the top 10 positive things that happened today, even though that I think would be pretty cool. No, people would, like a lot of my clients, they'll be CEOs or entrepreneurs, and they'll be in a way addicted to the news, and they'll often watch current affairs programs late at night. And for me, I'll always say, please don't do that. Because before you go to bed, it's generally when your unconscious mind is very sensitive. And it can affect your mood, it can affect your thinking. So you've got to think about, what am I feeding into my unconscious mind? Most people are very sensitive these days to what they eat and what they drink, but they're not always as sensitive to what they put in their mind. And they should be, because garbage in, garbage out, inspiration in, inspiration out. I was working with a client recently, and something interesting happened in this context where after a few months of working together, and they've made some great progress, really, if I do say so myself, transformative progress. But they revealed to me in a conversation that they caught something at the back of their mind, in their unconscious mind. And that's generally what we're looking for here. It's kind of something happening at the back of your mind. You kind of need to get quiet and need to be reflective and look in that direction, because this isn't about positive thinking. Because if I put positive thinking into my mind, but at the base of my mind and a core belief is that's not going to work, or you're going to fail anywhere, or you tried this before, positive thinking has no effect whatsoever then. It's just completely negated, neutralized. Anyway, this person caught a negative movie where basically the image that they had, the movie they had in their mind, was that they were failing at what they were trying to do in terms of their goals and their vision. And what they'd realized was that this movie at the back of their minds was influencing everything. It was influencing their inner narration, their self-talk. It was weirdly looking for proof to back up that belief. So whenever something negative happened, their mind would go, see, I told you, this is why it's not going to work. But they saw it. They had a realization, they had an insight, and they caught it because they were in a way open to looking for it. And just by seeing it, it fell away. And that's what I love about this kind of area. When you see something, it doesn't necessarily always require any sort of training or specific intervention. They saw it, and then they were able to drop it because they saw, hang on, what's that doing there? And I guarantee you, in some area of your life, as you're listening, there's probably something there at the back of your mind that's influencing you and your actions and how you feel and your success in some area of your life. Some area. Anyway, this person, they changed it to more of a succeeding movie. But the key bit was that they were able to drop the negative influence. And then everything changed. Their outlook, their mood, their level of optimism. And you could see it in the conversation. Their level of motivation had just jumped up, I'd say, by a factor of 5. So something that maybe you can consider trying that I do myself is that I love collecting questions, not just in terms of my work to ask clients or myself in particular, but also then to get my inner creative team, my solutions team inside. because they are phenomenal if I give them a chance. I just think about what's an important question that I'm trying to solve right now or trying to answer. And I will write that question down in a little notebook. I'll keep it with me during the day sometimes, but I specifically have it beside my bed. And I will read it or write in it before I go to sleep. And I just ask my inner creative team to work on it. Very often, I might wake up in the middle of the night or the next morning with an idea or solution or an action. Sometimes I don't. I don't put any pressure on it because you can't predict when these solutions emerge. All I know is that a solution always emerges at some point. So my job is to be aware and ready for it. But it could happen a day later, a week later, a month later, a year later, a couple of years later. The point is, I'm deliberately challenging my unconscious mind to work for me and my benefit. So what about you as you're listening to this? Are you using your unconscious mind deliberately for you? Are you open to, perhaps like my client, finding maybe negative beliefs that are causing you an issue or friction inside? We all have them. And part of my job, I think, is about subtracting them, removing them from our consciousness, from our minds. And what's an important question you'd like to answer in your work or in your life, or in your relationships? Like, what's something you're trying to answer or get a solution to? Would you consider writing it down in that little notebook, the unconscious book, and keeping it beside your bed and challenging your innies, your inner creative team, to come up with something really cool for you? Because the bottom line, anyway, is your unconscious mind is always working. The question is, what do you have it working on? That's it for this week. Ciao for now.